All right, we'll call this meeting to order. This meeting and all meetings of this committee are open to public. Proper notice has been posted, given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statute, so citizens three may be aware of time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Have a roll call.
Kemp,
Here.
Gage, here, Gunderson.
Here.
Okay. Then we need a motion to approve the minutes from our April 12th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 12th.
Very second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any questions or comments on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, carried. Citizens appearance. I take it Tom's going under the fire.
Yep.
So, all right, department update.
Last time we talked about the big ballistic vest reimbursement program. You advised me we had the discussion if we had an officer here for 5 years or longer that they would be eligible for that same program, so I added that language in. And if there's any changes that you want to make or adjustments to it, I can make them and then we can take them to next month's meeting to move it forward.
There you go.
The only change is the second paragraph.
But the only thing we said was you're eligible up to 50%, up to $400, right?
Right.
Okay. It's not what this says.
Are eligible up to $400 reimbursement.
This says if you got a $500 vest, I'd give you $400 for it.
All right, I think I'll have to rewrite it, but my brain wasn't thinking.
I know what you were thinking and you were writing it.
I did
but-
what my brain wasn't telling me to do.
Right.
They're eligible for up to
Up to.
$400. So if the vest was $800, they could get up to $400.
We'll pay 50% up to $400.
All right, pass those back.
Where's the shredder?
Yeah.
We don't have any shredders installed?
Well, I mean, as you read through it, do you have any other comments at all for them? I think what you're probably looking for is like a 50% match.
Right, up to $400.
Up to $400
Yeah.
or half.
You can word it 50% match, you can say half of, any way you want, as long as it's
Up to
up to $400.
You're saying if the vest costs $400, they're gonna give them $200.
Right,
Great.
right. The most, if you buy $800 one, will go up to 400.
Right.
Because they are, I think 500 is probably bare bones minimum.
Yeah, a decent vest with an extra carrier is going to be in the $800 range.
Yeah.
So I'll add that language in.
Other than that, I didn't have any other problems with it.
Further updates, we're still having some computer issues with Spillman. That's why the sheet that you normally see with calls and you didn't see last one, hasn't been resolved, but Brandon assures me that the county is going to, their IT guy is going to take care of that with my laptop tomorrow, because I'm the only one who's not functioning. And we don't have the capacity, it's not talking between here and there, and it's a software issue, so that'll be rectified tomorrow. We're way up in cases. The last couple of weeks, we've had some significant cases. We've got a case we're working on with DCI, and a narcotics investigation. We're also working on a case with the DCI, and that's Department of Criminal Investigation, with an intellectual properties crime, both of which went outside of our jurisdiction, but the initial arrest occurred here, and the information from those arrests led to us passing it to DCI because they have a lot more resources. And then we've had multiple sexual assaults in the last 3 weeks. I'll send you an email towards the end of the week when the charges are filed. It's substantial. We do have an individual in custody. He was magistrated today. He's being held on a $20,000 cash bond. And I won't speak any more of that particulars until the charges are filed and it becomes public. The only other thing that I have is that we did deploy our Narcan Deputy Gorschels was on an overdose situation. Sunset Curve area, he was able to determine that the people in the vehicle had been using opiates. One was unconscious, unresponsive. He requested mutual aid from Sergeant Leschke. He went down, deployed the Narcan. It was successful, and the person made it. I believe all the people in the vehicle were arrested subsequent to a variety of different charges. I did send Sergeant Leschke's report to our medical director at Theta Care, and she advised me that that one deployment was enough for her to articulate the Theta Care Foundation, which must be the people who paid for it, that it was a good thing to do. So they're happy with it. It's a bittersweet thing, but it saved a life. And that's all I have.
Anything else? Committee have anything?
I don't.
Well, I just asked him about that,
IEDs,
the IEDs. He said theirs are really outdated.
they are.
Said he's gonna check in on some.
I just got a letter from Zoll, which is one of the producers of AEDs, not
Yeah.
Yeah, AEDs.
But Tom brought up a good point. If they got theirs through Gold Cross, I'm sure there's a huge substantial savings than going direct with a distributor, and we'd also probably want to get on board using the same thing that the fire department does and Gold Cross does.
Do they have an expiration date on them?
I don't
It's just the
believe
batteries.
the batteries do,
Battery
and the
pads do.
and the
That's right,
pads
and
do.
the pads.
I mean, so
We-
should they be put on a rotation, much like your vest, and, or like any fire extinguisher?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to watch them. The one we bought had, dates were substantially longer than our previous one though, like the pad dates and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're smaller, they're easier to use now. The ones we have are the big old ones that came in the cases, and they get worn out. They have been used, I've used it several times. But we'll have to look into it and get some prices and then bring that back.
We just updated at Swim Lake last year, the pads and
Yeah.
battery was like $300-400, where a brand new one was up to 1,800, $2,000, you know, so.
Well, I'm just, thinking they should be on an inspection list somewhere, or monthly, bi-monthly, something like that, they should be looked at, and,
Well, they get checked, but, every officer looks to make sure that it's functioning, because it's got a little dial or button on it that says it's charged, ready to use. But the problem is, they're like other equipment, we have portable radios, after a while, they just get old.
right, they do, so they should be on a rotation, that you,
Is that something that you document that we check? I mean, when you do check them, like with us, we have to check our fire extinguishers on our truck. And we have to write on the tag at least once a month that we inspected it. So that that officer is inspecting it.
They should check over their squad every time they're going into it, and periodically I go and look, and Brandon does too, to make sure that what's in there is there and it works. And that, we've been doing that even more lately, because, some house cleaning issues had come up, so
Okay.
we're peeking in there, and when we had you guys come down a couple weeks ago when we had everything out, Brandon and I were out there making sure everything was in each of the cars. But they don't sign off on it bi-weekly. I mean, we could,
Or monthly or something like that. I mean,
like fire extinguisher tag.
right, should it be tagged? I mean, you know more about it than I do. I mean, if it should be tagged and inspected, that way you know that it has been. I mean, all of a sudden, somebody
It's
hasn't
probably
looked at
good
it
practice
for,
to do.
well,
couple-
right,
somebody hasn't looked at it for 2 months, then all of a sudden when you need it,
Yeah, and that's like going to find something in the office and somebody moved it or took it and you don't know where it is. It's like.
right, but it could be worse if you're in a squad car and you need something, you find out it's not there. Do they have some sort of a checklist that they go through when they start their shift, and,
Not usually, because it's 3 of the 4 of us live in town, so we have everything we need. And the part-time people, they come in, they check out key cards, portable radios, tasers from in the office, and then they bring it back at the end. So we know where all that stuff is during the day. But the defibrillator, yeah, that should be something we should put on to check at least once a month. I don't think they have to do it each shift, because they're pretty secure in the vehicles.
Jerry, do we keep a log on each person, like when they're working? Like, say for instance, like, okay, you work today's shift during the day, so you work the day shift, what vehicle, on that vehicle, do you keep a log of the mileage and everything that
Yeah.
is on there? Okay. Is it,
I think we can do is we can just add it to the spreadsheet. Because on that spreadsheet is the date they worked, the shift they worked, gas, how much the gas was per gallon, and then if they needed accessories, so windshield wiper blade or wiper fluid, and we can just put another one, drop down in there and says defibrillator and oil is on there, so. That way when they get in for the day, they bring it up, they fill that out, and then at the end of their shift, they put the ending mileage in, and then it calculates the month, so we know how many miles they drive per shift, and then total for the month by officer, not vehicle.
by,
So if Matt and I were using the same squad car,
yep,
he would keep track only of his mileage, not mine. I would
Correct.
keep track of mine, and at the
Correct.
end, we total it for the total monthly mileage.
okay. We do have that, though, I
Yeah,
mean,
we do
you
have
do
that.
keep track of that, okay.
Yep.
Because that was my other thinking is now, is it possible to keep track of each shift's mileage?
That's being done.
That is being
Yeah.
done, okay. Is there some possible way that we could get something like that on a monthly,
I can bring it in, yeah.
yeah, to kind of like show for each shift of the day, you know, the PM
Right.
and the
it's
AM shift.
Whoever's working.
Whoever worked it, what vehicle they used and just the mileage,
Yep, I can put that in.
okay. Okay. All right, we'll move on then to number 5, discussion possible action on updating the fire district agreement.
We've got a copy has been sent to all the towns and the city as well, and the fire district they've been speaking about this for quite a while. And I believe was it the most recent meeting, Nick, were you at that meeting?
Yes.
And I know Mike, you've been at some of them too. Just to discuss the updating of the agreement, and Chief Cullen is here too. I don't know how you wanna go about it, if you guys have some comments first, or if you wanna have the chief weigh in first, or however you wanna go.
I think we'll just have Tom.
Okay.
I think Mike and Nick know, it's over a year-long battle, but went through the lawyers, went through everything else. The last minor change we made was just to add the 2 signees, because we only had 2 signees in the agreement. Now, but if it's mandatory that 2 people sign the checks, one of them is gone, so. Changed that to 4 people, got them 4 in there, so the fire chief and the vice president were added. And other than that, the main things were we took the old Muckwa agreement out and we changed a lot of verbiage, changed some spelling errors, stuff like that. I don't know if there's any questions, I can try to answer them, but it is pretty simple. It was just, took a while to get done. So at this point, I have the other 3 signatures from the townships. And I believe it'll have to come to this meeting, and then you recommend it to the council, and then
For next Monday, yeah.
Do you have anything there?
I didn't, nothing jumped out at me when I read it.
Bruce, you have anything on it, or nothing you're concerned with?
Okay, I'll make a motion, oh, go ahead.
you know, it's been basically the same thing for many years.
It's 92 at least, I think, right? Yeah.
And it was- So it just basically took Muckwa out, a couple other minor things that in operations.
I think it was like Weyauwega Rural Fire Department
Yeah.
before that came out.
Yeah, just fire department, it had volunteer in there, and technically, we are no longer volunteer, we're, you know, called paid on call, and, so we just left it while we get fire department.
Okay,
I'll make a motion, we approve the updated fire district agreement.
all right.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to go with the Weyauwega Fire, Area Fire District's agreement. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you guys.
We'll move on then, number 6, discussion of possible action on Gold Cross contract.
And I've just got an update only. Talking to Gold Cross, last month we sort of went line by line through the document, or on the changes in the document. You'll notice that that document is also, it's almost like the sections that they pulled out, they just didn't renumber. So there's a little bit of modification they've got to make. But we did talk at this committee about the idea that the city of Weyauwega owns the building that houses the ambulance. And in restating or revising that agreement, which is what Gold Cross wants to do, rather than using roughly the same cluster that we have for the fire district, the same general towns, it's not the exact same, but it's generally the same. They're trying to get one agreement with all 30+ municipalities. And with that, they pulled out the information that's specific just to us owning this building. And what I've talked about with Mark Frederickson at Gold Cross is that we probably want to have a side agreement or like some kind of a lease agreement on that building, and we've kind of bounced some ideas back and forth. We don't have anything on paper right now, but I just wanted to give you an update that number one, we need to work on that. And then number two, I think I had also mentioned to you guys that the consortium is what they call it, is looking for a site to start meeting at least once every year or maybe twice. And last November when I was at the meeting, I volunteered that come July for the next meeting, we would have this building up and running. And so the consortium wants to meet here this July, and maybe every July they would come and have their annual meetings at our building, which would be really good. One comment I would make for you guys is that, you know, if it's possible, you know, it might not be the worst thing to have the Police, Fire, and Ambulance Committee come and sit in that meeting. Usually they've got 2, 3, 4 representatives from each community. If it's in our building, it's in our community here, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing. And then the question, based off of that then, if that's coming in July, Gold Cross hasn't really been here for a while. Now, what they want to try to do is they want to have this consortium work as their FaceTime with the communities, rather than come to each individual board. They want to try to meet at these consortium meetings. But what I'm going to ask them to do is to come to you, if we're working on the side agreement on the building and the use of the building, that they just need to come to your meeting. So I don't know if with that, then you want to have them invited for the June committee meeting, or if you want to meet in July, maybe that same night with them. It's up to you guys.
I think we'd probably like them to come because I think some of us have some questions about response times
Mhm.
or the lack thereof. So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with one group setting. I'd like to see them have to face each community. And so I can't imagine we're the only ones with concerns about the response time. So, and I guess I'd just soon see them in June.
Okay.
If that's okay with everybody else.
That sounds good.
I know, you were saying this building down here, they're
Yes.
staying there and they ain't paying us nothing, and it's our building?
No, even when it was Weyauwega area ambulance, they just used it. It was rent free,
Oh,
and the city
what do they
the
do?
city technically owns it. And we sort of pulled that information together because all the other towns had said, well, we don't own it. It's the city that
Yeah.
owns it. And so with that, we're technically responsible for maintenance on the building, which sounds like a good item to be included in a lease
Right.
agreement,
Yeah,
you know?
The benefit is supposed to be that they're here so we have quick response times.
Right, yeah, and
That's supposed to be the benefit.
Yeah,
I asked once to go to that meeting and was told I couldn't because I am not a elected official.
so maybe perhaps as the host of the meeting, we can have our own invite.
I would
list.
think so.
Maybe that's a benefit to having that if that's
Mm-hmm.
the answer that you got.
I don't know, I just, because I had questions and along with Jerry, sometimes we're standing out there and so. I have numerous questions. My biggest question to them is that they are able to operate on an emergency service with no communication besides their own dispatch. I have major issues with that. Because now if I have a question, I have to call our dispatch, they have to call them, or to resolve the issue, they gave me their phone number, so I gotta dig out my phone, call their dispatch, and get out, you know. The rest of the world here,
in other words, they're pushing you out. They're just keeping to themselves.
right, because they're on a different radio frequency, and they don't wanna, supposedly, they all have our channels, but they don't use them, so, which is an odd thing. I don't know how they get away with it, and it's crazy to me, but.
I think that would be a very appropriate meeting at the next police fire meeting to have them come to, because that meeting you can come to, and that meeting, I have some questions along the same lines that we talked about in the last year that we need some answers for.
Okay, so we invite them to the June meeting,
All right.
sounds good.
Because I wouldn't really want to approve this contract until
Well,
we talk
it's
to them.
not up to be approved because I
Okay.
think what we have to do, one of the questions I had for them was I thought it was gonna be quite an undertaking to get 30-some communities to agree to the exact same language in that form. So when it's numbered 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, and that's the numbering, and maybe that's just a clerical thing, that's not that big a deal, but I thought it was hard enough sometimes to get 7 council members to agree to the same thing, let alone 30-some communities that,
Well, and they kind of got you over a barrel. It's somewhat easier
Yeah,
when they're the only game in town, and if you die in a heart attack, you pretty much got to go to them,
one of the
or hope they
items
come
that,
to you.
one of the items that comes up at the consortium meeting last fall was there's a lot of communities that don't pay for the service but get the coverage. And it gets to be more, I don't wanna say it hits a nerve, but it starts to hit, the closer you are to the valley, there's a point, and it's hard because there's not a hard deadline or a hard limit where they'll respond in Greenville or Ellington and not charge. And then when you get to like 420 and that, then all of a sudden you charge or you don't. So I know how they bill is a big point for that consortium, so that's pretty interesting too. But I'll also say, I'm not gonna beat our chest or my own chest, but when we went to the consortium meeting, it felt like I was the only one that was talking or asking questions too. Everybody else was just, okay, yeah, here we are. It's just not so much an opinion, that's an observation I made, good or bad.
okay.
So, but yeah, we can get them invited for June, and then like I said, in July, and I thought it was gonna be like the 3rd week, so after our round of council meetings, committee meetings. It'll be like the 3rd Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, in July, but I'll verify on that, and then I would be interested in who's allowed to be in attendance and who's not, because some of those communities had multiple people there. And I'm not an elected official, and I got the invite for us, so,
You just show up,
yeah.
public
Well,
building.
I asked, you know,
Yeah.
I asked.
Right.
Right.
Any reason I can't come tonight or whatever, and that was, oh, you have to. Cause they didn't want just anybody showing up,
Yeah,
that's why I was told.
I don't think they'd welcome anybody.
I would think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of those towns have small boards.
Yeah.
And when you have a 3-person town board and 2 of them are there, it sounds like an open,
Right?
I won't finish that, but it sounds
It does.
like an open type event. It sounds like. But, okay,
Okay.
take a note on that. Otherwise, I don't have any action for you guys other than, there's some questions obviously out there. I'm assuming that many of you would want answers before there's an agreement signed. And we've got our own side agreement with a lease too, so.
Yeah, because I think when you talk about that building, I'm trying to think about how that went, because that was the school's property.
Some of the info I got on it was that it was maybe a donated community effort in building it.
Right, I think that it was
So it
the
wasn't like the
school's
city
property,
paid
and
to
I
get it
think
or
the
whatever,
school, I don't think the city ended up paying. The building was put up by I wanna say, I almost think that was part of a donation.
Yeah, if you go in there, there's
Fundraiser,
all the
yes.
different people who donated to it. Last time I was in there was
Of some sort, yes.
Larry
Yeah.
Strauss and,
Yeah,
oh, I forget her name. Lou, all those guys went
Yeah.
way back, did a fundraiser and all their names are in there.
we walked around town and got donations. There was other people that just came in with donations. I know Larry and myself did a lot of the electrical work in there. Ilke's came and did some of the service portion, I think it was. So, but I don't ever think there was any monies or anything with the city that was in that.
Could just be that once it was put up, it was, okay, who's gonna maintain it and
Right.
insure it and all that, and then that's where it came down to us. 'Cause we insure it too, that's part of it.
It might be now, after it was kind of dissolved. Before that, I don't remember.
I think it was, before that, it was the ambulance service when it was, because that's what the fundraiser was all associated with.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember right, part of that building, I believe, was Jerry Gage and Mike Jansen contributed a portion of that building, and then the fundraiser that the ambulance people created for the building. And then if I remember right, there was a group that poured the concrete slab, and, I mean, it was all a community effort that it was put together. But where it went at the end of the ambulance service, I don't remember.
Okay,
Okay. Number 7, any other such matters?
well,
I have nothing.
Nothing? Nothing? Then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
7:02.
Second,
Second.
okay. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.